Hello and welcome to Oh No No No, your favourite podcast for all things top of the league. We are full of festive cheer and we've got loads to pack into this episode. So we're going to look forward to Friday night's visit of Ayr United. We're going to give our thoughts on Sam Stanton's new contract and we'll also answer our customary big question as well. So I'm Duncan Cameron, and joining me this evening to work through those topics and more, we have, first of all, we've got Robbie Weir. How are you, mate?
Yeah, brilliant. How are you, Duncan?
Very well, mate. Very well, thank you. Carol Allison Smith is here too. How are you, Carol?
I'm good, getting ready for Christmas.
Excellent. I like the hat that you've got this time. Graham Meldrum's with us as well. How are you, Graham?
Nervously excited.
Good. And Christina Beattie's here too. How are you, Christina?
I'm all good, thank you.
Fantastic. So, let's start with Friday night's game, tomorrow night's game as we record. So, Ayr United go into this one after a 1-0 win over Airdrie at the weekend, but that result seemingly kind of putting an end to some fairly rocky form that they've had. So, Graham, let's start with you, please, from your vantage point down in Ayrshire. How do you feel going into this one?
As I said, nervously excited. My issue is my local spies tell me, whether it's right or wrong, that Ayr are starting to click a wee bit. Went through a bad spell at the start of the season when they lost their two central midfielders due to injury, which seemed to have set them back a while. And they seem to be in a rhythm now. Whether that's enough to keep their manager in a job to the end of the season, who knows? The Magic Gili manager may keep them going. He may be pumped. I don't know. But it's always difficult staying down here. My son had the ignominy of Ayr United coming in with a trophy that year. They pipped us in the last seconds of the season, so they came into his school with a trophy. So it's always nervous for us, and it's absolutely fantastic if we get one of them. And if the Rovers, anybody in the Rovers is listening, if we do manage to get a bit of silverware, Prestwick Academy, please. Fifth year classes, you'll find him. He'll be there. So feel free to come down with a trophy anytime you want.
It's a funny one here, United. I don't have anything like that kind of connection, but I've always got a kind of bad feeling about Ayr. Don't know what it is. Just not a side I ever kind of relish seeing us go up against. But, obviously though, the Rover side absolutely, full of confidence and flying high at the moment. So there will be no kind of shaky feelings from the team, I'm sure. Robbie, how about you? What are your thoughts just generally going into this one?
Yeah, as you say, Ayr familiar foes over the last few years. We kind of run sort of almost parallel with them in terms of probably about the last 15, 20 years or so. We've always tended to be similar divisions. They've had spells where they've been a bit on top. We've had spells that have had sort of prolonged periods in the championship as well, but we've generally been there or thereabouts together. I think for me, they do have a decent squad, a lot of familiar names in there. The likes of Anton Dowds seems to have started really well for them, seems to be clicking. He's been in on loan from Partick. Even Aidan McGeady's one that stood out during the summer has been a marquee signing almost, but then they bring in Logan Chalmers, who's just a player that you know on his day can just completely control games. So I feel positive about the game though. I think that we've got a lot of reason for optimism and hopefully we can just sustain our lead at the top of the league.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting squad that Ayr United have put together. As you say, I think Anton Dowds is probably the standout addition that they made. It was quite late on in the summer that they brought him in, and I think possibly even after the league season had started, they brought him in from Partick Thistle, and it felt like a real kind of missing puzzle piece. Because he's the kind of guy who, with a fairly limited side, you can still play off and you can still dig goals out. And yeah, Aidan McGeady I thought was a funny one at the time. And I know he's not played a lot of football, but he did come back and he played against Airdrie. But I'm not quite sure how they're fitting Aidan McGeady, Jamie Murphy, and Logan Chalmers all into the same side. But it will be interesting to see kind of how they do manage that. Christina, let's come to you next. Give us your thoughts on the Rovers going into this one, please, and whether you think we'll see many changes from the side at Tannadice.
I don't really know how we should be feeling at all anymore, to be honest, because the games that I've thought, do you know what, I've got a feeling we're going to either draw or lose this one. It's never the case. So I didn't even care to look at any stats for this. I was like, do you know what? I don't know what to think anymore. I'm confident. I think obviously, how can we not be confident? The team's obviously going to be confident tomorrow. But as far as like a score prediction and stuff, I have no idea this week at all. I did have quite a similar lineup to when we were at Tannadice, apart from I've got Hamilton starting again. Well, I'll tell you my lineup actually. I'll just go through it.
Yes, please, because I think it might be the same as mine.
So I've got Millen, Murray, and Dick at the back. Put Dick back in there, Graham.
Good stuff. Love it.
There you go. Brown, Easton, Stanton, Mullen, and then Smith, Hamilton, Vaughan, and Dabrowski.
The way you name the goalkeeper last throws me every time. So I tell you, it's very similar to mine. So I've kept Sean Burnin.
All right, okay.
In mine as well. So I think for me it's the kind of the same back four. So Millen, Brown, Murray, and Dick from last week. Sean Byrne sitting. Dylan Easton, obviously, I think, on one side. Sam Stanton in the middle of that attacking midfield. And then I've gone with Josh Mullen over Aidan Connolly. I just feel like up against Ayr United, Josh Mullen should hopefully be full of motivation. And then a kind of front two of Hamilton and Vaughan, which, as we've said so many times now, there's a lot of guys in there you can make arguments for without really giving much away. Carol, how about you? How are you feeling kind of going into this one and any changes you would make to the starting 11?
Well, I'm going to pick up on something that Ian Burry said in his pre-match interview with Davey, that we're going to put on a good performance, which I think is a few years ago, we wouldn't have got that sort of guarantee from a manager in an interview that we're going to put on a good performance. My concern with Ayr is I think they might try and slow down that good performance, not stop it, but just slow it down, because that's what we've been renowned for at home this season. It's been fast on the surface. With the terms of lineup, I'm kind of with Christina. I just don't know anymore. It's like, who do you leave out? We've got a lot of games coming up back to back. So anybody with a niggle, I think Ian Murray is going to put them on the bench. He's not going to take any chances because he's got the depth at the moment to not take any chances. So yeah, it's difficult to. Yeah, I'm with Christina. I can't decide anymore.
I think it's been one of the things we've talked about in this podcast the most and probably wasted the most time on is actually trying to pick a lineup.
Yeah.
Because whenever we do it, it's just completely thrown out the window by what Ian Murray does. Not that he's ever going to listen to this and take advice from us, but it's just completely different. And we all sit here and talk about it, and it's just miles away from what actually comes out in the field.
I'm afraid to stop doing it now in case this is the little piece of magic that's holding this run of form together.
On the point about the watching the good football, though, I think that is something that's very, very important that's changed this season. In terms of, we're winning, it's amazing, we're top of the league, but it's actually amazing to watch. There was a portion of time, I think it was the Partick Thistle game, where it was not good football to watch, and it's kind of like, oh, this is like what we were used to in the past, and you forget that was actually quite normal, and we just expect so much more now, but it's really, really good to watch. The standard of football is unbelievable.
Entertaining. Sorry, Robbie.
Yes, yeah, it is.
I think as well, like, we've got an expectancy now that, like, with players, especially last Saturday, like just with Dylan Easton in that goal, and the fact that it's had a spotlight put on it, because you saw it and immediately, like, I text my friend and I was like, that's goal of the season straight away. That's all I said, Easton, goal of the season. And then you see the way that BBC have literally done like a slowed down documentary type short about the goal, where it's just Ian Murray, Jim Goodwin, Dylan Easton talking over it, and then it's got Willie Miller on the commentary just going, oh, what a goal that is. You're like, yeah, Willie, that's what we are getting excited about every other week. But with him, and then again Sam Stanton, you throw in Vaughan being a factor. It's a team of entertainers in there, and you don't know who it's going to be because you look at the Partick game. Callum Smith, he'd maybe been quiet for a few games, maybe not had a goal in a few, and then he rocks up and scores. You've got Aidan Connolly hitting the post with what could have been again another arguable sort of goal of the month contender at that point. So yeah, just really ridiculous place that we're at. Where it is, as Graham says, I think it's right to say it's a bit of a futile task to try and pick the team. Not going to stop us anyway, though. You know.
What we really need this season, just to top it off, would be Dabrowski to score a goal.
No, before Liam. Liam's got to score a league goal as well. Come on.
One of Dabrowski's goal kicks. That would be like just icing on the cake for him.
That would probably be how it would work. I remember years ago, Hamish McAlpine was our goalie. Now, Hamish used to take penalties for Dundee United at one point, and he's probably the worst goal kick or kicking from hand keeper we had in a long time. And then one day down in Kilmarnock, I think we were struggling that season, and all of a sudden we won this one game at Kilmarnock, and it set us off. And it was a wind-assisted Hamish McAlpine kick that went in the back of the net. And we all know Kev's kicking, getting better. So it wouldn't surprise me if one day he actually did do it.
Do you imagine Kev if that happened though?
I did laugh at the Courier Sport podcast that they did, and Jim Spence was on that, and his literal quote was, "I know that the Rafe fans have got questions about Dabrowski's kicking from feet, but," and I was like, wonder if Jim's been tuning in here, Blair Hopcroft setting him up. But I remember a few years ago we played Cowdenbeath in a league game at Central Park, and that was it was a bright but windy day. I remember being exceptionally hungover for that. My mate Harry's wee brother, who's just turned 18 now, ran off, and Harry's like, "You've got to go and chase him." Like, what's going on? But Ross Laidlaw, I think Ryan Conroy scored a free kick from about 45 yards that day, but Ross Laidlaw hit the bar from a goal kick from his hands. Just showing how ridiculous the wind was that day, but that's the closest I've ever seen it go. But if you remember that one, that's one for the ages.
I think our expectations might be getting slightly out of hand at this stage.
Christmas wish list.
Oh, this is true.
Good. We've been good all year, so maybe we deserve it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, aye, fine.
I'll
join your Kevin Dabrowski goal wish list.
And then that is goal of the season, because that just trumps everybody.
Cairns, what's the XG for Kevin Dabrowski right now, please? If you could get on Y-Scout, that'd be great.
So one thing about this game tomorrow night that I think could be particularly key is, I know the Ayr fans, their sort of primary concern is around their fullbacks. And that seems to be their kind of their weak point. That is really not what you want coming up against this Rovers side. Again, we've talked about it all the time. We don't need to go over it in full detail again. But like Dylan Easton, when his tail's up, which it absolutely is, he squares up that fullback. That's the worst place to be in this division at the moment. And whoever ends up at right back for Ayr United in particular is not going to fancy that. And whether it's Aidan Connolly or Josh Mullen on the other side, I think it's going to be the same thing. So that it's not particularly often that you get to look at a game like this and kind of see your key battles so clearly, kind of early doors. But they'll very much be trying to do the same thing on the other side, as you said, Robbie. I think Logan Chalmers is the standout player on that side, and they'll be trying to do the same thing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Robbie, because I know you were particularly impressed by Callum Smith, as you said previously at Thistle, and then he did very well up at Arbroath. You were impressed with him against Dundee United as well. With that in mind, though, do you think he has to drop out for Jack Hamilton, or is there a case for Callum Smith in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to completely contradict myself with this and say yes. I think that Hamilton would be ideal up top. Just because I think that we saw that against Dundee United when Hamilton came on. He offered so much as a sort of focal point to bring others into play. And he's just a great all-round forward. And it's been mentioned before. We've spoken about kind of almost used him as a target man, and then he starts scoring goals, and he's like, I'm more than just a target man, by the way, which I fully agree with. So yeah, you just I think we look a lot better when we've got Hamilton in the starting 11, just because he is that out and out number 9, and we don't really get that from anyone else. So I would have him in that starting 11 if he's fully fit. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's, again, as we've said, it's so harsh on any of these players who are dropping out of this starting 11 at the moment, but I just think it's a much more cohesive unit, a much more cohesive
But
strategy.
I think as well, it's worth probably saying, I think the longer the season goes on and we're sticking in there with United, and now we've sort of gone ahead of them 5 points clear, albeit with a game in hand. I feel like there's more of an appreciation for it being a squad game now. And particularly Callum Smith and Josh Mullen and Connolly. I think those three in particular just seem to understand, and I'm sure as players they're very frustrated and they want to play every minute that they can, but it's almost like there's this, yeah, actually I do want to play every minute, but I kind of accept the fact that we're in a title race right now, and if that's for the greater good and we're getting results, then so be it. You can't really argue against it. So yeah,
they trust the manager. Sorry,
no, on you go, Carol.
I said I think it's the trust in the manager and the trust in the club is there, is that they want to play not individually anymore. They want to play for a team, so they understand why they're being left out or why they're on the bench or why they're. It's because it's not because they've done anything wrong. It's because the team needs this formation or this way of working for this particular game. We say it a lot on this podcast. It's game to game. It's not thinking about we're all about we've won the league at the end of the season, but it's that. So I think they understand, and I think there's an understanding and a trust there in the team that wasn't maybe there before.
I think winning solves the problem for you. Like you'd be hard pushed to complain about it as long as the team's winning, and if it's only a kind of a one-off, then you'd maybe still have a case. But there's been so much evidence that, and I think it was Callum Smith himself who said that game against Thistle where him and Aidan Connolly were standing waiting to come on and Thistle scored, and he just turned to Aidan and said, we've got to go on and turn this game back around. And that's that's exactly what it is. You're not second choice with these substitutes anymore. That's not how the game works. And I think it's really probably the first time in my kind of visibility, which is basically the Scottish Championship, where a manager is using the 5 subs rule as a tactical innovation, really, as opposed to just I can get an extra guy on or whatever. In the way that when they announced as football that they were going to 5 subs, and you think, well, that's just going to benefit the bigger teams with the bigger budgets because they can get more players on. I think at this level where within reason everyone's operating at more or less the same level, the Rovers are probably the first team where you're really actually seeing it as a deliberate strategy to say, well, we've got 5 subs, let's go and actually use them as a strategy from the beginning, as opposed to we've got our 11 and then we've got additional players. But we've talked about that loads. I think we're probably past the risk of repeating ourselves on that. But if there's more late goals from substitutes, I promise you we will talk about it once again on Saturday or Sunday when we get together to debrief this one. So let's move into predictions for this then, and any other kind of final thoughts that you want to add on this game. And Graham, we'll start with you, please.
2-0 the Rovers. Stuffy, horrible game, but we'll come through 2-0. And hopefully my favourite right back in the league, Nick McAllister, has an absolute shocker again, as he did at Starks Park, where I think Louis Vaughan came within about a foot of him and he fell over trying to get him sent off as well. And he'll be looking over his shoulder, wonder where Dylan Easton is for 90 minutes. So hopefully he has a shocker. And we'll win 2-0.
And a first win by more than a goal. It's always a brave prediction with this Rovers side.
But it's always a brave prediction when you live in here.
Very true. Carol, how about you, please?
Ooh, 3-1 Rovers. 3-1. Again, I think we'll two go but I think we'll lose a stupid one and then we'll come back.
That and you do you think we'll lose that in the time period that Leslie has christened the is it the Golden Sieve he's calling that?
Yeah.
But then the last few games we've not conceded in that period though. So
That's it. I think are we two on the bounce without conceding in that? I mean, a whole clean sheet against Dundee United. Excellent, thank you, Carol. Christina, you next, please.
I'm going to go 2-0 Rovers and both goals to be scored in the first half.
By the goalkeeper.
That's what she was going to say as well. By Dabrowski.
Both of them, yeah.
Both of them. One with his left and one with his right, Christina.
Merry Christmas.
I tell you, I would absolutely love just 2-0 half time and then just see it through to the end. That would be really nice. That would be good. All right, Robbie, your prediction, please.
Well, I can be a wee bit smug because I predicted 1-0 last week, much like yourself, I think, Duncan. So, hopefully we can carry on that streak, and I will go for a 3-0 Rovers win.
Oh, excellent. I'm very confident. You want to give us goal scorers for that?
Absolutely not.
Fair enough. I'm going to stick with what I said for last week. I think this is going to be 1-0 Rovers. I think we're seeing this Rovers side refining themselves into just a very well-oiled machine, and these single goal victories just really bringing them right down to the minimalist football. I think is what we're going to see from now until the end of the season. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Rovers. But glad to see this podcast continuing our almost universal, only ever predicting Rovers victories. And to be fair, in the time we've been doing the podcast, that's been a pretty successful strategy. So I think we'll stick to that. And just before we move on from this game, Carol, I think you've got a little bit of festive joy to spread around.
Yeah. So people might have seen the posts on social media, but selection boxes for kiddies will be available tomorrow after the match. There's been a lot of work done behind the scenes by the forum, donations, and Dot has been out, who some of you might know, been organising it. So some selection boxes went to the kids ward at the Vic. There's been some for the Festive Friends, hospitality kids. There'll be boxes for Air kids. And there'll be 200 plus boxes available for Raith Rovers kids after the game tomorrow.
I think is it free to anybody under the age of 16?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure you would all pass for under 16 without ID.
I think we'll let that just hang for a second. Okay. Get somebody to check on Carol as soon as we finish recording. All right, brilliant. Moving on from that then, Christina, I mentioned this on the last podcast that we did, but just to take us back a week very briefly, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on your trip to Tannadice, because obviously you've told us on the pod before that you've only been going to Rovers for what 2 or 3 years, something like that, and that this season's really been your first sort of foray into away games, and I think I said that's as away games go, that's a pretty good one. So. Would you mind giving us just a little bit of a review of your afternoon last week, please?
Yeah, it is funny when I go to away games. Everybody I go with turns to me and goes, "This doesn't happen. Like, this is not normal." And I'm just having the best time, and everybody's like, "No." And I'm like, I don't know what people must have sat through all these years, but I'm having a great time at away games. And I always said I don't go to away games because it's too much. I can't do every Saturday. And now I'm like, phoning my husband, like, "Can I go again?" And everybody's like, "I need to phone and ask permission from the wife." I'm like, "Listen, I'm asking permission now as well, by the way. It's serious." But no, I had a great day. I went up on the bus, one of the free ones, which was a great atmosphere on there. The bus driver, as we got up to Tannadice, played Geordie Monroe, which was amazing. And I thought it was really nice on the way up because there was Dundee United fans clearly walking on the path, knowing that it was a Rovers bus. Everybody was like banging on the window and stuff, and they were just like smiling, waving, happy. I'm like, so nice. Did not expect that. Thought we were going to get abused, but they were lovely. And then I thought the ground was amazing. I've only been to East End Park so far, which is a nice ground. I thought Tannadice was really, really nice. The only thing I didn't like about Tannadice was at the end coming out. I felt like I could hardly see where I was going. It was really dark and it was on that kind of slope. Didn't really like that, but beautiful ground. And yeah, obviously an amazing game, amazing match. So yeah, I'm ticking all the. I've got the app now that can tick all the away grounds that I've been to. So yeah, I'm on a good streak. I think it's Livingston. No, it's East End Park again next. I'm going back there on the second, and then it's Livingston, which I've heard mixed reviews about.
I'm not convinced who's giving you the positive side of the mixed reviews of Livingston, to be fair. But yeah, it's nice to hear. It's obviously one of these things that I think for some of us, it's the same old faces and the same old grounds, and you especially when the team's not doing so well, you get a little bit kind of jaded sometimes. I mean, I think I'm 3 or 4 off all 42. Now that they've introduced relegation at the bottom of League Two, I keep losing track. I want to check every now and
It's
again to
annoying when
see
you
who
lose
I'm
a
missing.
Brechin or a Cowden Beef and you're like, they were stalwarts, but they're gone now. I've only got the two left. I've Bonnyrigg and Motherwell for me, or the last frontiers.
I've got Bonnyrigg, Dingwall, and Peterhead, I think, are the three. Because I did have Annan, but pre-season, or whatever that was, earlier this year, I managed to tick Annan off.
Peterhead gave me my claim to fame, which was I ended up on View from the Terrace with one of the shorts that they done.
That's right, yeah.
Aye,
You and
so,
Kev as well.
me and Kev.
Graham, you can't be far off, I'm sure. You're well travelled.
I've never been to Peterhead's new ground. I was at their old ground. Old ground. When was that? That'd be about 35 years ago. We drew them in the cup. We drew at Starks Park, then we drew at Peterhead, and then we had to play a third game at Arbroath where we beat them. So that's definitely one. That, I think, where else? That's probably the only one, actually. No, that and Cove will probably be the only two I've not been to.
I think that's the funny thing about sorry to interrupt, Duncan, but the funny thing about the Scottish Cup is that you get those like grounds, like you're saying, obviously going to the old Peterhead. Like I remember going down to Castle Douglas for a game against Free Rovers. Like you would never get that normally, and then all the locals come out because it's seen their team that's in their town playing against like a professional club. So yeah, you can get some real oddities. It's expanded a wee bit with the Challenge Cup and the with the expansion there, but yeah, just some bizarre grounds that you can get to.
See in the league, obviously the league we're in just now. What ground is the oldest one in our league? Like I know there's obviously the main stand at Starks Park's an old stand, but I mean like in general.
It's a great question. Hampden Park must be up there if you count its various rebuildings and all that kind of stuff.
Because we played at a place called, funnily enough, Robbie's Park before Starks Park. East End's must be quite old. Somerset must have been. They were 1910. They were founded, I think. So
yeah, because they're an amalgamation. A few teams down here, but I think one of them played there before then. So
yeah,
actually, because I mean, it's only what Airdrie, Cali Thistle, who are in sort of newer style grounds.
Well,
really?
We'll go into Airdrie and how they got started. Let's be honest.
I mean, their grounds had more names than most teams in this division have had grounds. Because really, I mean, so obviously, like the Rovers, Dundee United, Thistle, Dunfermline, Morton, Ayr. They're all kind of sort of quote unquote original grounds. You know, they've not kind of moved out of town or anything like that.
I would say if you do get a chance, Christina, Ayrs, it gets fabled for the atmosphere on its like big games, but it's worth going along to just to see what a proper old school Scottish grounds actually like.
On a good day, it might have running water as well.
Yeah, that's true. Albeit they are kind of ruining it with the.
Try and screw the tap, right? And the tap actually comes out.
Yeah.
Fantastic plumbing.
I think Capel is like that as well.
Yeah,
Capel and Somerset are two that feel proper, feel kind of in the same way that the main stand at Starks Park does, to be fair.
Yeah, Capel's probably the oldest actually. I'm just on Wikipedia now, and that was 1879 they started playing there. So
yeah, Tannadice is 1909, I think.
Yeah, that'll definitely be Capel then. I would have thought. And certainly
it's probably the same.
It's like Hampden it's on the same place, but it doesn't feel like it. Whereas Capel does. But particularly, I mean, the Norseman feels a bit kind of 19th century as well, to be fair.
Well, if you Google the sort of average height of a person in Scotland and see when it goes above 5'5", that's probably like when Capello was used, obviously the side of the seats in the stand.
So that's a good question. If you ever do go to Capello, Christina, how much do you value your shins? Because they will get hit off the seat in front.
Only ground in the country where the fans wear shin pads. That was a nice little detour into kind of away days and away trips. Which is I was keen just to hear how you'd got on. But let's move ourselves along a little bit then, and let's talk about another additional piece of good news that we got this week, and that is Sam Stanton's contract extension, which came out of the blue. Came into the email inboxes of the Club 1883 members first of all, but Robbie, if you could give us your thoughts first of all, and did you expect that?
No, didn't. To be honest, I thought that it was completely out of the blue, and just saw the WhatsApp erupt with various messages about it, and it's great to hear. It builds upon everything, and really it goes back to what Andrew Barrowman was saying in his tweet directly after the Dundee United game. He said, "This is not a run of form; it's a movement." And that sums it up very much. I think Stanton's one of those players where it's well sort of publicised that you had the McGlynn contracts, as they're known. One of our podcast crew called it McGlinterest, in terms of like these rolling deals that continued to grow in value time after time. But Stanton's the one out of those who's been signed as a McGlynn player, and he's just kicked on to another level, added goals to his game. But he'll have seen the changes over the summer and sort of the work that's going on behind the scenes. And I think as a player, it's a real statement of intent. And he is the Parslayer, quoted from BBC Scotland. So it's going to be delightful to have him at least for the next 6 months doing that, until hopefully we get promoted and we can leave them in our wake. So yeah,
that's it. I think you're absolutely right. It's a real statement of intent and a real positive indicator of what the players must be feeling, as much as anything. So I think I said it in relation to Dylan Easton, but I was absolutely thinking of Sam Stanton at the same time, just a week or two ago, when I was saying that there's no point panicking if these guys don't sign contract extensions at the moment, because there's not really any pressing need for them to commit at the moment. I said it about Dylan Easton, but Sam Stanton's exactly the same. Like, his offer from the Rovers wasn't going anywhere. He could have, if he wanted to. He could have waited until later on in the season. What league do we think we're going to be in? Who else is going to be around in the Premiership? What offers are there? So the fact that at this stage he's happy enough to just say, nah, I'm enjoying this. I believe in what's happening. The infrastructure at the club, all that kind of stuff. I'm not wanting to speak to anybody else. Not interested. Give me the contract and I'll sign it. I think it's such a it's such a big signal of what it says about the rest of the football club, as much as what it says about Sam Stanton. Christina, you're his biggest fan, so I think safe to say you're delighted by this news.
Yeah, I can't wait to say best player in the Premiership. This is going to change next season. It's going to be amazing. But I do genuinely believe that players like Sam Stanton and Dylan Easton and stuff really do deserve to be in the Premiership. And I hope that, like, obviously Sam Stanton signed again, but I hope that Dylan Easton and stuff and your Sean Burns, and I hope they just want to continue their journey with us. I said after the Dundee United game, this is not luck. This is Raith Rovers Football Club. So I hope that this is how we are now, and I hope that this kind of standard of player is just what we attract. Because surely there's other players looking at us now thinking, I want to be part of that. They must see it all on social media and want to be part of it. I looked up Stanton's stats: 16 appearances, 3 goals, 2 against Dunfermline, 5 assists, and I'm just like, this is why he's just the best. But I don't know if Sam Stanton listens to our podcast, but I would like to ask him. I would like just to hear from him. I would love him to do an interview and just so we can. He's never on any inside match days. He's never on any he's never. I've never seen him do an interview yet. So I would really like to hear from him and hear what he thinks of the club and just where he sees himself going and where he sees himself taking the club and stuff, and just to get a wee bit insight into what he's like as a person. He's obviously very quiet.
See as a man who's scored 3 goals this season against Dunfermline, Sam Stanton can just do whatever he wants as far as I'm concerned. Like, if he signed off on a letter that just was full of me telling me, like, shut down your podcast, you're an absolute tool, just get it closed down. Absolutely fine. No worries, Sam. You just do what you need to. That's cool. I think that it's good in the sense as well that, like, you're mentioning Dylan Easton there. I'm far more confident that Easton was going to sign. I didn't expect Sam Stanton to be the first one to re-sign back. So it just sets the tone, really. But yeah.
And Graham, do you think it's fair to say that Sam Stanton's kind of the on-pitch representation of kind of how Ian Murray does his business? Do you know what I mean when I say that? Like,
nice, efficient, nice and quiet, just goes and gets the job done. I actually think he's probably the one you would pick out of this team now and put in that team in the 90s. And you wouldn't weaken that team in the 90s. I think he's that standard. And I mean the 92, 93 or the 94, 95 team. I think he could play there. I thought that when he came, because when he was at Dumbarton, he was always a thorn in our side. Whenever we came across Sam Stanton, he was always a thorn in our side. And it was a good signing at the time. Surprised we actually signed him at the time, because I thought him coming to the Rovers was a step. But as good as Easton's goal was, it was made by like Vaughan dropping off his marker and coming into the midfield and laying the ball off, and that pass was Sam Stanton. He just knew. He just knew, I'm going to play that ball in there, and they all knew that ball was going to get in there. And it was very reminiscent. I think the first or second goal against Ayr United at Somerset Park.
Yeah.
But the roles were kind of reversed. I think it was Stanton who made the run, and the pass was played into him. Then he got it across to Easton. So it's something they obviously do. But it was almost telegraphed, and it was just, we know where it's going. And he's class. Absolutely class football player.
Duncan, what you just said there about Stanton being how Ian Murray goes about his business, that is absolutely spot on. That's got to be the quote of the podcast since we started doing this, by the way. Because that is so true. Like, business, no faffing about, not in your face, quietly confident, gets the job done. That's it. You smashed it for me, Duncan, saying that.
Thank you. Carol, why don't you round off this discussion with Sam Stanton? Just tell us your thoughts on the man.
He can be as silent and as mysterious as he likes, as long as he scores goals. That's it. Yeah. Do what you need to do, what makes you happy. If you need to live a mysterious life, fine. Don't care. Score goals. Whatever makes you happy and score goals, that's all I want.
Quite right. And I'm just so pleased to see he's got that contract extension. He's such a good player, and he's the kind of guy you can build a team around. And for that reason, as much as any, I'm delighted that we've got him, and sort of take away any question marks. You just got that really reliable rock in that side for the next couple of years.
It's like I said before we started the podcast, though. I feel like he's personality-wise, you're going to always get different people in your team. To have a good team, you need different types of characters in your team. And for every Kevin Dabrowski that's like the limelight, the star of the show with all the quotes, to have a Sam Stanton there that just keeps you ticking over, just keeps things working, just doing his job. I know we've said it before, and it's not in a sort of dismissive or negative way. Very unassuming. He'll just go about his business and get the job done, but he does it so well that, like, you just can completely forgive him for not being the sort of extroverted type of personality that you maybe sort of everyone would like terms of what they see in terms of social media. You don't necessarily need that all the time. So if we can get that from Sam Stanton, and if he's happy, that's the most important thing for me.
Absolutely. And from one Rover stalwart to another, Robbie, how good was that link? Sorry for calling attention to it, but it really was very good. Could you give us your thoughts, please, on Davy Hancock, who this week, I think, 750 games he's now covered with Wraith TV. So yes, if you could just tell us a bit about how you sorry, tell us what you wanted to say about Davy, please.
Absolutely. I think that all the terms that we've used about Sam Stanton in terms of just quietly going about his business can also be applied to Davy. An absolute hero of a man. He's just such a great person to have involved as a volunteer, and just the nicest person that you can imagine. Just him and his family, just in general, are all fantastic. His wife and daughter were sitting behind me at Tannadice, and I did say to Molly, I was like, look, because obviously people are standing up and it becomes a bit of a nightmare because she's smaller than everyone else. Just saying to her, like, look, if you can't see, just give me a tap on the shoulder and I'll try and duck down. But I'm very, very glad the Easton goal was up the other end so that everyone got to enjoy it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, for Davy himself, when we were first starting the podcast, he was one of the people that I sent a DM to just sheerly out of respect, just to sort of say, look, just to give you a heads up, this is what we're going to intend on doing and what we're starting and what we're thinking about. And he has been so helpful, just so completely willing to give any feedback, just willing to sort of chat in general. Just I've had interactions with him through Wraith TV before in terms of short pieces that they've done, whether it was through the fans panel, and he's just such a nice guy. And it was just really lovely to read all the comments and just everyone's experiences and just sort of the joy that him and the rest of the team bring, especially for people like yourself, Carol, that'll maybe be overseas, and you listen to the games and you almost get to sort of know these personalities through Wraith TV. So yeah, Davey, just I cannot stress how thankful I am that you're involved with the club, and I feel that it's great to see. So I know that they'll get a lot of recognition and praise, but just on a personal level, just the most important thing, just a really, really good human being. And he's just I've sort of sets an example in terms of how people should be treated and how you would want to treat other people. So yeah, tip my hat to him. Just a brilliant guy.
That's it. And Carol, I know you want to just say a little bit piece as well, because obviously for yourself, you're relying on Wraith TV more than most.
Yeah. So I'm going to put, but Davy Hancock and Wraith TV have made me the Wraith fan I am today. So obviously I've lived in Barcelona now for 17 years, so left Scotland in 2006. My contact with Rovers was phoning my mum and asking for stuff and getting what I could from the internet when I went to an internet cafe, and then found the Treatment Table podcast in its early form on the Metro one day in Barcelona because I was looking for a Wraith-based podcast, and Davy's Dulcet Tones and the others were started the podcast. And yeah, from that on it was, can we get the games online? Can we get the games online? And it's just grown from that. And I've met Davy several times. He's the nicest, sweetest person, I think. It just that you feel that you're his best friend from the moment he speaks to you. He just has so much respect for the club, for supporters. He doesn't care if you're just a brand spanking new supporter and know nothing about the club to the oldest. He has made me the fan I am today. And that's the reason I'm doing this, the reason I write for the programme, the reason I've done triathlons for the Supporters Trust in the past has been Wraith TV.
And I know Davy's always the first to try and kind of like duck out of that limelight, and to be fair, rightly reflect it on the other guys who are maybe more behind the scenes with a lot of that stuff. But they're all due so much credit, and I think we can't thank enough the people who do all that kind of work behind the scenes, and especially things like through lockdown, there was a greater connectivity between the Rovers fan base and a lot of football clubs, all through that kind of one conduit. And Davy's very much the the voice of that, and definitely the brains behind a huge part of it as well. So absolutely 750 down, and I think everybody just looking forward to the next 750 to come.
I'm just impressed Davey can count. You know, we did do an interview where somebody said, "Can you count?" So obviously he can.
Was it not Neil that did that one though?
No, I think it was
No,
Davey.
it was Davey. It was
Was
McGlynn
it?
did it to
Oh.
Davey. Yeah.
John McGlynn.
Yeah. Aye, fine. Let's end this podcast then with just a little bit of nonsense, quite frankly, because it's the time of the year for it. So for today's big question, Jesse, just a little bit of fun. So what I'm looking for, please, guys, is for you to give me your Rovers Christmas songs. And you can interpret that in any way that you like. And Robbie, give me one of yours first of all, please.
I'll let someone else go first because I don't want to steal someone else's.
Right, okay. Carol, throw it to you then, please.
I'll go for a nice easy one. Felix Navidad.
And Christina?
We're doing the awkward pauses in between each one, right? I've got two. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Brilliant.
And I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
Good wee shout for Potsy there. I think maybe he's not getting all the credit he deserves at the moment. So I know you had to invent a Christmas song about hippopotamuses to get that in there.
That's not invented. That's the best
That is
Christmas
a
song
real-
ever.
That is a real Christmas song.
I want
Honestly,
that best Christmas song ever.
I'm not going to start singing it on a podcast, but when we're finished, you should Google
Yeah.
it.
Okay, might need to pull that out to the audience to see who's ever heard of that song before. It's a new one on me. Right, Robbie, you come in next, please. Give us any of yours, please.
Well, I'm going to steal a few from the group chat that we had going on earlier on.
Don't steal too many.
Well, Graham, you go then. You go then, Graham.
I've stolen this one from I don't know who's stolen it from, but Driving Vaughan for Christmas.
I think that was Scott.
So I like that one. And When a Child is Born. Oh, Johnny Mathis classic.
So there was a few. Leslie came out with one that was excellent. It was a Fairy Tale of New Ownership. Stark the Herald, Angels Sing from Michael. I went Stay Another Day by Easton 23 was my one that I put in there. So, yeah. Come on, Dylan, get that contract signed, man.
Excellent. And listen, I'm going to call us there because I think we'll get much better ones in the replies to the podcast tweeting and the YouTube comments, I'm sure. But I am just going to leave us one, which is in terms of our former Dunfermline friend who's now plying his trade on the south side, and that is of course Dominic the Donkey. But thank you very much for listening. We have done our best to make sure this is a slightly shorter one because I know that there are commutes that are having to be extended and there are dogs getting incredibly long walks with some of the longer pods that we've done. But rest assured, if we do put Ayr United to the sword tomorrow night, we will be back with another 90-minute plus debrief, I'm sure. So fingers crossed from all of us on that one. We will see you tomorrow night at Starks Park, I'm sure. As always, if you are at the game and you're sitting next to someone who hasn't been listening, give them a little elbow and send them our way. And we will see you over the weekend for the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.